What if I told you everything you've been taught about changing your life is backwards? That positive thinking and vision boards are just the surface, and the real key to manifesting what you want happens in one night, not years, not months, one night. And if you do this wrong, you'll stay stuck forever. Most people never change because they're trying to force their mind to obey them. You can't bully yourself into a new life, but there's a method, a single night-long ritual that rewires your subconscious so deeply you'll wake up different, not by chanting affirmations, not by begging the universe, by hacking your brain's ancient programming. Let me show you the lie you've been sold about manifestation. You've been told that if you just think positive thoughts, if you just repeat affirmations in the mirror every morning, if you just visualize hard enough, somehow magically the universe will hand you everything you want. But here's the truth. That's not how any of this works at all. The real secret isn't about attracting things from the outside in. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally lives in the reality you want. Think about it like this. If you're terrified of rejection, if deep down you believe people will always leave you, then no matter how many times you say I am loved, you'll still push people away. You'll misinterpret their actions. You'll sabotage relationships before they even start. You'll cling too tight or pull away too soon. All because your subconscious is running a program that says love equals pain. And no amount of surface-level positive thinking will override that. The same goes for money. If somewhere inside you believe money is evil, or that rich people are selfish, or that you don't deserve it, then no matter how many vision boards you make, you'll unconsciously avoid opportunities to earn more. You'll overspend when you have it. You'll undercharge for your work. You'll feel guilty when good things come your way, because your outer world isn't controlled by your thoughts. It's controlled by your beliefs. And beliefs aren't just things you decide to think. They're deep automatic programs running in the background of your mind, shaping every decision you make without you even realizing. So here's the hard truth. Manifestation isn't about convincing the universe to give you what you want. It's about rewiring yourself so that what you want becomes inevitable. Because right now, your life isn't an accident. It's a perfect reflection of what you truly deeply believe is possible for you. If you struggle with money, it's not because the universe is punishing you. It's because some part of you is still convinced, on a primal level, that you can't have it. If your relationships keep failing, it's not bad luck. It's because somewhere inside you don't believe you deserve something better. This is why most people never change. They focus on the surface, on repeating empty affirmations, on forcing themselves to think positive, while their subconscious is still running the same old broken programs. And the subconscious always wins. Always. You can't outthink it. You can't argue with it. You have to reprogram it. And that's exactly what we're going to do tonight. Because here's the good news. Those beliefs weren't born with you. They were learned, which means they can be unlearned. Every fear, every limitation, every story you've ever told yourself about why you can't have what you want, it was programmed into you, piece by piece, through experiences, through words, through repetition. And just like a computer, if something was programmed in, it can be reprogrammed, but not by force, not by yelling at yourself in the mirror. The real shift happens when you speak directly to the subconscious in its language. And the subconscious doesn't understand words. It understands feeling. It understands repetition. It understands states of being. That's why you can tell yourself, I'm confident, 1,000 times. But if you don't feel it in your body, if you don't act from that place, nothing changes. The subconscious only believes what you prove to it. So tonight, we're not just going to think our way into a new reality, we're going to embody it. We're going to hack into the deepest layers of your mind and rewrite the code from the inside out. Because once those old programs are gone, once those hidden beliefs are replaced, everything changes. Opportunities you would have missed before suddenly become obvious. People respond to you differently. Decisions that used to feel impossible become effortless, not because the world changed, but because you did. And it all starts with recognizing the lie you've been sold, that manifestation is about getting. It's not. It's about becoming. Why one night changes everything. There's a reason this isn't a 30-day challenge. There's a reason we're not stretching this out into some long, drawn-out process. Because real change doesn't need time. It needs leverage. It needs the right moment, the right conditions, the right key to unlock the door that's been holding you back. And that moment, it's tonight, not because of some mystical force, because of science. Your brain doesn't learn at the same speed all day. There are two windows where your subconscious is so open, so receptive that what you feed it during those times sinks in like a seed in fertile soil. The first is right before you sleep. The second is right when you wake up. This isn't some spiritual idea. It's neuroscience. When you're drifting off, your brain starts shifting into theta waves, the same state hypnosis uses to bypass your critical thinking and speak directly to the deeper layers of your mind. That's why you remember dreams more vividly if you wake up in the middle of the night. Your subconscious is wide awake, even if your body isn't. And when you first wake up, for those first few minutes, your brain is still in that same vulnerable state. That's why the way you start your morning sets the tone for your entire day. If you wake up and immediately check your phone, if you flood your mind with news, with stress, with other people's problems, you're programming yourself to feel reactive, scattered, anxious. But if you take those first moments to focus inward, to reinforce who you want to be, it sticks, because your brain hasn't fully put up its walls yet. This is why one night can change everything, because we're not just going to think about change, we're going to imprint it into your subconscious during the exact moments it's most receptive. Most people waste these windows. They scroll through their phones before bed, filling their minds with noise. They wake up and immediately dive into the day without giving themselves a chance to set their mental state. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But tonight we're going to use these windows with precision. We're going to prime your mind before sleep so it spends the night reorganizing itself around what you want. And when you wake up, we're going to lock it in before the world has a chance to pull you back into old patterns. This is how you create a shift that usually takes months in hours. Think about how habits form. They don't build because you decide to change. They build because you repeat something until your brain rewires itself to make it automatic. The same goes for beliefs. Right now, your deepest limitations are just habits of thought, programs that got reinforced over and over until they became your default. But the brain doesn't care if a habit is helpful or harmful. It just cares about repetition. So tonight, we're going to repeat the right things at the right time, in the right state, so your subconscious has no choice but to accept them as truth. We're not just going to tell you you're confident. We're going to make your brain believe it. We're not just going to say you're abundant. We're going to rewrite the programs that have been blocking it. And it all hinges on this one night, because the subconscious learns fastest when it's surprised, when it's taken out of its normal routine. That's why people have breakthroughs after a major life event. because the old patterns get disrupted, and for a moment, the mind is open to new ways of being. Tonight we're creating that disruption on purpose. This isn't about willpower. It's about strategy. You're not fighting your mind. You're working with it. And once you do, everything changes faster than you think. The ritual. Step 1. Sunset preparation. The first step isn't about doing. It's about undoing. It's about stripping away all the noise, all the distractions, all the modern world's tricks that keep you trapped in the same cycles, day after day. Because right now, your mind is like a pond with water that's been stirred up for years, muddy, unclear, impossible to see through. And before we can pour anything new in, we need to let the sediment settle. We need stillness. We need space. This begins 2 hours before sleep, not 1 hour, not 30 minutes, 2 full hours. Because your brain doesn't switch from chaos to calm, like flipping a light switch. It needs time to unwind, to release the grip of the day, to remember what it feels like, to not be pulled in 10 directions at once. And the first rule: no screens. None. Not your phone, not your laptop, not even the TV in the background, because artificial light, especially the blue light from screens, tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime. It suppresses melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it's time to rest, and keeps you locked in a shallow, surface-level state of awareness. And shallow awareness can't reach the deep places we need to go tonight. This isn't about discipline. It's about respect for your mind, for the process, for the transformation you're about to invite. If you can't give yourself 2 hours away from screens, ask yourself, who's in control, you or the device in your hand? This is the first test, because real change doesn't happen while you're half in, half out. It happens when you commit fully, when you decide that for these 2 hours, nothing is more important than preparing the ground for what's coming. Then the cold shower, not cool, not lukewarm, cold. So cold it shocks your system. So cold your first instinct is to tense up, to resist, to retreat. And that's exactly the point, because that moment of resistance is where the old you lives. The part that avoids discomfort, that seeks the easy way out, that would rather stay the same than face temporary pain. But then something happened. After the initial shock, after the gasp, after the mind's frantic protests, there's a surrender. The body realizes it can endure. The breath deepens, the muscles relax, not because the cold is gone, but because they've learned to exist within it. That surrender is the first crack in your old mindset, because right now, your limitations aren't held in place by some unbreakable force. They're held in place by your avoidance of discomfort, by your unconscious habit of choosing what feels easy over what feels true. The cold shower isn't just a test. It's a message to your subconscious that tonight, things are different. Tonight, you don't run from what's difficult. Tonight, you walk straight into it, and in doing so, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your fears. After the shower, dry off slowly. Feel the warmth returning to your skin, but notice how it's a different kind of warmth now. Deeper, richer, like the heat after a day in the cold. This is your body remembering its resilience. Then put on loose, comfortable clothing. Nothing restrictive, nothing that reminds you of the day. You're shedding layers, both physically and mentally. Now, find a quiet space. Light a candle if you have one, not for ambiance, but as a focal point. Watch the flame. Notice how it doesn't struggle to burn. It doesn't try to be brighter or dimmer. It simply is. And in that simplicity, it's powerful. For these few minutes, Let your mind mimic the flame. No effort, no forcing, just presence. This is the preparation, not flashy, not complicated, but profound. Because you're not just getting ready to do something tonight, you're getting ready to become something. And the becoming starts here, in the stillness, in the cold, in the decision that for once you're willing to meet yourself exactly where you are, so you can finally move beyond it. Step 2, the shadow dialogue. Now, the real work begins, because up until this point, everything has been preparation, clearing the space, calming the mind, proving to yourself that you can face discomfort. But this next step, this is where you meet yourself, not the version you show the world, not the polished, socially acceptable mask, the raw, unfiltered truth of what you believe, especially the beliefs you've been too afraid to admit, even to yourself. Find a room where you can sit in total darkness, not dim light, not a flickering screen, darkness so complete, it feels like a physical presence, because in the dark, the mind stops performing, it stops pretending, there's no one to impress, no image to uphold. It's just you, and the thoughts you usually ignore. Take a notebook, a pen, no phones, no distractions, and at the top of the page, write this question: what do I really believe is impossible for me? Then wait. Don't rush. Don't force an answer. The first things that come up will likely be surface level. The excuses you've rehearsed for years. I'm bad with money. I'll never find love. I'm not smart enough. But keep digging, because beneath those there's something deeper. The core belief that fuels them. The real answer might sound like, I believe I'm destined to struggle. I believe I'm unworthy of good things. I believe happiness is for other people, not me. Write it down, no matter how ugly it feels, no matter how much your hand shakes. This isn't about judging yourself. It's about seeing yourself clearly for the first time in years. Because you can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. Then beneath that answer, write a second question. Who would I be if this wasn't true? And here's where the magic happens. Because the gap between those two questions, between the old belief and the possibility of something new, is where transformation lives. That gap is the doorway. Most people never cross it because they're too afraid to admit the first part. They'd rather stay stuck than face the truth of their own self-imposed limits. But you're writing it down. You're bringing it into the light, even in the darkness. Now sit with both questions. Feel the weight of the first, the way it shaped your life, the opportunities you've missed because of it, the version of yourself you've buried under its weight. Then feel the pull of the second, the whisper of what could be, the person you've always been, beneath the fear. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about truth. The truth that your current reality is built on old stories. Stories you didn't choose. Stories that were handed to you. Stories you've reinforced without realizing it. And the truth that you have the power to rewrite them. Stay here as long as you need. Let the darkness hold you. Let the silence speak. There might be resistance. There might be fear. That's normal. It means you're close to something real. When you're ready, close the notebook. You don't need to revisit what you wrote tonight. The act of writing it was the release. The act of asking the second question was the planting of a new seed. Now breathe deeply, as if you're breathing into that gap between the old and the new. Because tomorrow, when you wake up, that gap will be the space where change begins. Step 3. The sleep anchor. As you lie in bed tonight, the most important work begins. Not through effort, but through surrender. This is where we bridge the conscious and subconscious, where we take the first real step in rewriting your identity at the deepest level. The mind before sleep is like wet cement. Whatever impressions you make now will set overnight and become part of your foundation. Most people waste this golden hour scrolling through meaningless content or replaying the day's worries. But you're about to use this time with surgical precision. Find that memory, you know, the one, not just any memory, but the moment when you felt truly unstoppable, when time seemed to slow down and you operated from a place of pure confidence. Maybe it was when you nailed that presentation despite your nerves, when you stood your ground against someone who doubted you, when you created something that surprised even yourself. The memory doesn't need to be grand, it needs to be real. The more visceral you can make it, the deeper the imprint. Now close your eyes and relive it frame by frame. This isn't passive remembering, this is active re-experiencing. Notice the details most people overlook, the way the light fell in the room, the texture of what you were touching, the background noises that were present but forgotten. How did the air smell in that moment? What physical sensations did you notice in your body? Most importantly, how did your heart feel? Not just physically beating, but emotionally. That's the golden thread we're following back to your power. As the memory peaks, as you reach that crescendo of feeling completely in your element, make a fist with your right hand. Squeeze tight. Not so hard it's uncomfortable, but with enough pressure to create a distinct physical sensation. Hold it for 3 seconds as you bathe in that memory. Then release. This simple act creates what neuroscientists call a somatic anchor, a physical trigger tied to an emotional state. You're teaching your body that this fist clench equals this unstoppable feeling. Why the right hand? Because for most people it's their dominant side. More neural connections, more muscle memory. But more importantly, because this isn't about superstition, it's about creating a clear, repeatable signal your nervous system will recognize instantly. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, that fist squeeze will become your instant access pass back to this state of being. Now here's the subtle art. As you begin to drift off, let that memory play like a film reel on loop in your mind. Don't force it, just allow it to be the last conscious thought before sleep takes you. Imagine it seeping into your subconscious like ink spreading through water, coloring everything it touches. The incredible thing about this process, your sleeping mind doesn't distinguish between real memory and imagined reality. With emotional vividness, the same neural pathways light up either way. This is how athletes mentally rehearse perfect performances. This is how speakers prepare for talks that move audiences. They don't just visualize, they embody. And now, so are you. As sleep pulls you under, know this. Your mind isn't shutting down for the night. It's just switching to a different kind of work, where the real transformation happens beneath the surface of your awareness. What happens while you sleep? While your body rests, your brain enters its most active state of reorganization. This isn't metaphor. It's measurable, observable science. Sleep studies using fMRI machines show neural fireworks lighting up your brain in precise patterns, consolidating memories, solving problems, and, most importantly for our purposes, pruning and strengthening neural connections based on what you fed your mind before bed. That memory you anchored, those questions you confronted in the darkness, they're not sitting idle. Your subconscious is working on them with the precision of a master craftsman, taking the raw materials you provided and weaving them into your neural architecture. The brain does something remarkable during REM sleep. It replays the day's most emotionally charged experiences at high speed, but with a critical difference. The stress chemical present during the original event are absent. This means you get all the learning without the emotional charge that might block integration. Here's what's physically happening in your brain right now. Synaptic pruning, like a gardener carefully trimming away dead branches so the healthy ones can thrive. Your brain is weakening the neural pathways associated with disused or unhelpful thought patterns, while strengthening the ones tied to what you focused on before sleep. Those old beliefs you wrote down, the ones about limitation and impossibility, their neural foundations are being gently eroded right now, making room for new connections to form. Meanwhile, the memory you anchored is undergoing memory consolidation, the process where short-term memories get converted into long-term neural wiring. Each time your sleeping brain replays that moment of being unstoppable, and research confirms it replays such moments dozens of times throughout the night. It's literally rewriting your self-concept at the cellular level. The neurons that fire together, wire together, and right now they're firing in new empowered patterns. But here's the most fascinating part. Your brain is also problem-solving those two questions you sat with in the shadow dialogue. The subconscious is a supercomputer when it comes to finding connections and solutions your waking mind might miss. By presenting it with the clear juxtaposition of "this is what I've believed" and "this is who I could be," you've given it a puzzle to solve overnight. Don't be surprised if you wake with sudden clarity or new perspectives. This is your subconscious having done its homework. The physical anchor you created works because during sleep your brain also strengthens the connection between physical sensations and emotional states. That fist clench is becoming neurologically married to the feeling of being unstoppable. By morning, it will be a direct line to that state of being. No conscious effort required. This is why one night can change everything when approached correctly. Most people's sleep is wasted neural activity, random firings of whatever junk they fed their mind before bed. But your sleep tonight is a precision tool, carefully directed toward one purpose: making the new you not just a possibility but an inevitability. When you wake, you won't just feel different. You'll be different at the level where real change happens. Not in your thoughts, but in the wiring beneath them. The science is clear: we don't just sleep to rest, we sleep to become. And tonight you're becoming the version of yourself that until now you've only glimpsed in those fleeting moments of unstoppability. By morning, that version won't be fleeting anymore. It will be who you are. The morning after, locking it in. The moment you wake up is sacred. It's the fragile space between sleep and full consciousness, where your mind is still porous, still malleable, still deeply connected to the work you did the night before. This is why the first 5 minutes after waking are more important than the next 5 hours. Most people ruin this window without realizing it. They grab their phone, flood their brain with notifications, emails, news, other people's demands, and in doing so they let the world dictate their state before they've even had a chance to remember who they're choosing to be. But not you, not today. Before you even open your eyes, before your thoughts fully form, squeeze your right fist, just like you did last night. Feel that. It's not just memory, it's muscle, it's nerve, it's the physical echo of the unstoppable version of yourself you anchored before sleep. That surge you feel isn't imagination, it's neurochemistry. By linking the physical action to the emotional state, you've created the direct line to confidence that bypasses your thinking mind entirely. Your body remembers before your mind does. Now open your eyes slowly. Don't jump out of bed. Lie there for 60 seconds and let that feeling spread. Notice how different the room looks when you're viewing it from this state, the same physical space, but a different experience of it, because you're different. This is your proof that transformation isn't about changing your circumstances first. It's about changing your presence within them. Here's where most spiritual practices stop, with the feeling, with the affirmation, with the visualization, but that's only half the equation. The critical next step, action, not massive action, not life-changing action, a tiny, almost insignificant action that proves to your subconscious that this new state is real, because your subconscious is a skeptic. It needs evidence to believe. If last night you confronted the belief, I'm bad with money, right now, you pay a bill immediately, not later, not when it's due. Now, not with resentment, but with the quiet certainty of someone who handles their finances with respect. If your limiting belief was I'm unlovable, you send a text to someone you care about, not to seek validation, but to express genuine connection. If it was I'm not disciplined, you make your bed with meticulous attention. The action must be small enough to be doable, but significant enough to carry meaning. This isn't about accomplishment, it's about alignment. You're showing your nervous system, this is how the new version of me operates. With each aligned action, you're not just thinking differently, you're behaving differently. And behavior is the language the subconscious understands. Then, and only then, you may begin your day. But carry this awareness with you. Today isn't just another day, it's the first day of a new neural pathway. Every choice you make today is either reinforcing the old you or cementing the new. When faced with decisions, ask, which choice aligns with who I'm becoming? Not as a burden, but as a compass. Why most people fail and how you won't. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't fail because their techniques are wrong. They fail because they treat transformation like a light switch. They want one moment of effort to illuminate everything forever. But the mind doesn't work that way. Your current beliefs weren't formed in a single event. They were carved over years of repetition, reinforcement, and evidence gathering by a subconscious, always looking to confirm what it already believed. Think of your mind like a hillside with deep grooves where rainwater always flows. Those grooves are your neural pathways, the well-worn routes your thoughts automatically take. Last night, you started carving a new path, but the old grooves are still there, still deeper, still more familiar to your mental rainwater. The first few times rain falls, life happens, it will naturally want to flow the old way. This isn't failure, it's physics. This is why people experience brief awakenings only to slip back into old patterns. They mistake the first breakthrough for the finish line. They feel changed after one powerful experience and don't understand why. Weeks later, they're reacting the same old ways. But you know better. You understand that real change requires two things most aren't willing to give: repetition and patience. Do this ritual for 3 consecutive nights. Why 3? Because research on habit formation shows that the first 72 hours are when new neural pathways are most fragile, most likely to be overwritten by old patterns. By the 3rd repetition, you've given your brain enough consistent evidence that this isn't a fluke. It's a new way of being. Then, do it once a week, not because you have to, but because you understand that every repetition deepens the groove. Every session is another layer of the old beliefs being sanded away. Within a month, What felt like conscious effort becomes unconscious competence. The new thoughts feel more natural than the old ones, because you've given them the one thing they needed to take root: repeated proof. Most people also fail because they expect linear progress. They think each day should feel better than the last. But transformation is cyclical. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Others, the old patterns will whisper loudly. This isn't regression, it's the process. Even on days when you feel far from your new self, the ritual continues, especially on those days. Your advantage isn't just knowing what to do, but why it works. When you understand that every repetition is literally reshaping your brain, skipping a session would be like stopping physical therapy, because your arm isn't healed after one session. You know better. So, when life inevitably tests you, when old triggers arise, when circumstances tempt you to revert, you won't see it as failure, but as necessary resistance. Like muscles tearing before they grow stronger, each challenge is another opportunity to choose the new path over the old, to deepen the groove, until one day you realize the water flows this way naturally now. This is how lasting change is made, not through force, but through consistency, not through revolution, but through evolution. One night began the process. What happens next is up to you. The secret they don't teach: physicality. There's a reason all the positive thinking in the world doesn't stick for most people. There's a reason affirmations feel hollow when you're saying them in the mirror, but don't feel them in your bones. Your mind doesn't believe words. It believes states, and states aren't just mental, they're physical. Your posture, your breathing, the tension in your muscles, the expressions on your face. These aren't just side effects of how you feel. They're inputs, they're commands. They tell your nervous system who you are and how to respond to the world. Think about it. When you're scared, what happens? Your shoulders hunch, your breath gets shallow, your body closes in on itself. But here's what no one tells you. It works the other way around too. If you force your shoulders back, if you take deep, slow breaths, if you stand like someone who owns the space they're in, your brain gets the signal that you must be safe, that you must be in control, and it responds by releasing a different cocktail of chemicals, hormones that make you feel more confident, more focused, more present. This isn't pseudoscience. This is physiology. That's why the cold shower matters. That's why the fist clench works. Because you're not just thinking your way into a new state. You're tricking your body into leading the way. When you stood under that cold water, when your muscles tensed and then surrendered, you weren't just building discipline. You were showing your nervous system that discomfort doesn't mean danger, that you can face something difficult and come out the other side. And every time you do that, you widen the window of what your brain considers safe to experience. This is the missing piece in most self-help advice. They tell you to change your thoughts, but they don't tell you how to change your body's language. They don't tell you that sitting slumped at your desk all day is reinforcing a story of defeat before you even face a challenge. They don't tell you that forcing a smile, even when you don't feel like it, can actually reduce stress hormones and increase serotonin. They don't tell you that the way you move through the world is constantly whispering to your subconscious, shaping your self-image in real time. Tonight's ritual works because it bridges the gap between mind and body. The darkness, the writing, the memory, those target the mind, but the cold shower, the fist clench, the way you breathe as you fall asleep, those target the body. And when mind and body align in a new state, that's when real change happens. Not just change you think about, change you live. So tomorrow, pay attention to how you carry yourself, not as a performance for others, but as a signal to yourself. Walk like someone who belongs where they are. Sit like someone who doesn't need to make themselves smaller. Breathe like someone who isn't bracing for impact. These are small things, but they're not small in their effect. Every minute of every day, your body is voting on who you are. Make sure it's voting for the version of you that you're becoming. When you'll see results, some changes announce themselves. You'll wake up tomorrow and feel it. A lightness, a quiet certainty, like a weight you didn't know you were carrying, has been lifted. Other changes are subtler. They don't come with fireworks. They come with the slow, steady realization that you are responding to old triggers in new ways, that situations that would have ruined your day last month barely register now, that decisions that used to feel impossible now feel obvious. But here's how you'll know it's working. Within a month, you'll start noticing coincidences, opportunities that seem to come out of nowhere, conversations that go differently than they would have before, people reacting to you in ways they never did. This isn't magic. It's not the universe rewarding you for positive thinking. It's you noticing what was always there, but you couldn't see before. When you believe you're someone who deserves good things, you stop avoiding opportunities that would prove you right. When you believe you're someone who can handle challenges, you stop interpreting every difficulty as proof that you can't. The changes in your outer world aren't happening because the world changed. They're happening because your filters changed. The same events that used to feel like setbacks now feel like information. The same interactions that used to feel like rejection now feel like redirection. Not because the events themselves are different, but because you are. This is the paradox most people miss. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe you are. And when you change what you believe at the deepest level, the world has no choice but to reflect that back to you. Not all at once, not without resistance, but inevitably. So don't judge the process by the first day or the first week. Judge it by the subtle shifts. The mornings you wake up and reach for your phone less quickly, the moments you pause before reacting, the growing space between what happens and how you respond. These are the real milestones. The rest, the external proof, the visible results, that's just the echo. The real change is already happening where it matters most, in who you know yourself to be. This isn't law of attraction, it's law of identity. Change what you believe at the core, and reality has no choice but to match. Tonight you don't just wish for a new life, you download it.